Faith in God, perseverance, yeah. Hey, you gon' make it, yeah, just keep on waiting. Hey, let that hating be your motivation. Hey, you gon' make it, yeah, just keep on praying, cause God can hear everything you say, yeah. He can hear you, man. Hey, you gon' make it, yeah.
Okay, so today we're going to be doing a breakdown and a cleaning of your airbrush. These are some other airbrushes. We're not going to use those though. We're going to just use one for the demonstration. Going to need a few things though. Old toothbrush, pipe cleaner brush thingamabobbers you can get from Horrible Freight for about $2. Wire thingamabobs, bigger gun cleaner, an old paintbrush, about this size here, doesn't matter. Shop towel, some thinner paint cup. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to do a breakdown. This is the Iwata CS 0.35 millimeter. I use all Iwata products. They've never done me wrong. I've only had one problem one time, and this paint cup actually broke off of here one time, and I called Iwata and they sent me a brand new one, and this is it here. So we're going to remove the pieces. Here we go. So here we go. First we have this is the protector which protects your needle basically. This is your needle. This protrudes out of the gun. You move this back, it goes, but it's locked up, it's dirty. I didn't clean it last time. Big mistake. Don't ever do that. Always clean your airbrush. This airbrush here is about $135, $140. So this is your cap. This is the protector. You don't have to use this to spray. You don't need this to spray your airbrush. I don't use it, but it's dangerous because when you spray, you could tap that needle against something and you're in trouble, because then you got to replace your needle and more than likely your nozzle that's inside there. So here it is. Then you have your nozzle cap. This is another piece here. This you do need on there, but this needs to make sure it is clean. This needs to be clean. Alright, so here we go. Bear with me on the how it gets a little blurry on the camera. Not sure why. I haven't figured all the kinks out on this GoPro. Might need to get another camera, not too sure. It's stuck because it is dirty. I left it dirty, and that is a big no-no. You don't want to do that. Always clean your gun. Alright, so here's this. There's your needle sticking out. This is your needle cap. This needs to always remain clean at all times. No paint really gets in there because it's actually stuck to this. Air just flows in there and shoots your paint out of that little thing right there. That thing. Then you're gonna needle cover. Alright, here's the other needle cap. It's got 3 holes in it. Well, the main hole in the middle, and then the 3 little holes around it where the air, backs up. And then you got your nozzle. This is important because if this little tip right here gets smashed, it will not spray correctly. So you need to make sure you take care of this right here. If you ever replace the needle, you want to replace the nozzle as well, because if the needle has a burr, chances are it's going to burr the tip of this nozzle, and this nozzle is really small. Not sure why I can't zoom in properly with this camera, but yeah, that's it. These nozzles for this gun are roughly $20. The needle's around $11. Alright, we're going to take this lid off of here. Well, actually, we're going to take this and get this needle out here before I bend it. This unscrews right here like that. You're going to unscrew this one here. This holds the needle in place. This comes off, and the needle slides out. Then you're going to also unscrew this piece here. Just turn it to your left like you're unscrewing a bolt. This slides out. There's a spring inside here. Actually, it's right here. This spring here. This goes on here, and it's because when you pull the trigger, that's alright. So there's that. Now we're gonna take off this lid. There might be paint in here. Hopefully not. Maybe no, but it is super dirty. Well, not too bad. It's kind of dry. Oh yeah, and there's the trigger. Trigger fell out. Okay, so on this trigger here, this has got a swivel on it. This is what goes down inside the gun, and it actually pushes the air, and the air flows up, goes through the gun, goes through here, and comes out, backs up in here, and shoots out. And that's how that works. So we're gonna just put everything in here. Don't just drop this in there like that though. Place it in there because you don't want to bend up that little tip. Make sure you don't hit it with nothing else. Alright. Okay, now these have Teflon packing O-rings inside. You can go ahead and get thinner on it, but you don't want to leave this in there too long. I'm going to place this in here just to break up the paint, but I'm going to take it out. I'm not going to leave it in there very long. You don't want to leave these overnight because these O-rings, they'll stretch out, even though they will end up getting too big, and then the paint inside your bowl is gonna backflow through here, and you're gonna get paint build up in here because your O-ring is not tight in here. And in order to get to this O-ring in here, you're gonna have to go in here. You're gonna have to go in there. There's actually a way to get in there and change all that out. You can take this off here. This is for my quick disconnect. This comes off here. This actually just, instead of screwing it on all the time, I just put this on and it disconnects to the air hose right away. But you can use, there's a tool for these things. They go in there and this will actually come out. There's a spring in there. You got to get it, but we don't need to do that. That's not necessary. We're just cleaning the gun to spray. These are all fine product. They've been in there for years, but they're great. They have no issues. So we're going to put this back on here and we're going to place this in here. The needle, do not put it down. Put it facing up. You don't want to break the tip. This is a straight needle. It's good. It's just dirty. You do not want to damage this. This is the back. We're just cleaning it because for cosmetic purposes. There should be an O-ring on here. It fell off. Not too sure what happened to it. There should be one here. I mean, it's not necessary, but it just gives it a cushion when you tighten this on the gun. Alright, we're going to let this sit for a little bit and we're going to clean the pieces. Okay, so it's been a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and get started cleaning. First things first, get your brush. You just want to clean off your needle. Be careful and don't hit your needle. I want to take the time to clean this one first and get it out the way. I put plastic down because I have paper on my table, and when I get done cleaning this, I can just peel it up and throw it away. Clean. I'm going to set this to the side. We're going to go ahead and get the body out, get that out of there so we can not try to worry about messing up the rings inside. There's also an O-ring that goes on here. It's supposed to stop a lot of the air, but the bubbles will still come out. So I got rid of it and I just screw it down, and I don't have any issues with that. There are little tricks, and you can actually put, once you put this on there, they say put like a little touch of chapstick in there, and because their bubbles do come out still, but very, very little. You can't really tell. I don't know. I don't use none of that. I just put the paint in there and I go to town. Now don't be fooled. That is a copper look to it because I guess the weld inside there, so it's not going to be like shiny like this inside. So it is getting clean. That's where this extra little brush comes into play here. You don't want no paint to get inside that little hole right there, because that's where the air comes out and meets the paint coming out of here and shoots out the tip. So we don't want to get that jammed in dirty. Just going to put this in here, clean this a little bit. Remember, there's an O-ring here, so we don't want to jam this thing in there because we don't want this to mess it up. Your needle has to go through there, so we don't want to mess it up. Just kind of to where you see it go right in here. We're cleaning out where the gun the trigger won't get stuck, excuse me. That's where these guys come into play. Then you can go ahead and size down to this one. You know your needle's this thick, so don't get nothing too big to where it's going to ruin the ring inside. And then you can go ahead and put this all the way in there. See the little junk on there? That's inside. Drop down one size. A lot of junk. All that junk. I wish you could see a little bit better. Okay, Okay, see that hole in there? That's where the trigger, from the bottom of the trigger, is going to go. That's where the air comes up, what I was talking about earlier. It's clean now. It's looking good. Looks good. We're going to go ahead and run this to here a couple times more. You want to make sure there's no paint or nothing gummed up on the inside that main hole right there, because if it is, it'll create air and it's going to backflow the air into the nozzle and you're going to get bubbles in your cup. And if you put your lid on top, your paint, your lid does have a breather on it. A little hole right there in the middle. So it does have a breather, but if it's clogged up or there's bubbles coming up, when you're spraying, you're only going to be spraying about 20-25 psi. Sometimes less than that, just depends what you're spraying, maybe even higher, but it's going to bubble up and you could pop off your cap. And if you're spraying paint, cap busts off, paint gets on your project, that wouldn't be a good thing. Let me get another shop towel here. Just kind of clean it out real good. And there it is. It's clean. Looks good. Let me brush off that. What we're going to do before we put it together, we're going to actually use some clean thinner and flush it out and wash it one more time. No scrubbing, just going to rinse it out. Alright. So there's that. Since we got this out here, we'll just go ahead and clean this too. You want the edges clean really good because that's what's going to cause it to stick to your bowl up there. So you don't want no paint along this edge right here. Of course, you want the inside cleaned as well because you don't want old paint dropping into your new paint. Okay, so these guys right here, this is what they're for. You can run this to this little hole here just to make sure you have a clean breathing hole for your gun. Now we go ahead and put this on here just so no dirt will get trapped in for now. Okay, so you want to get good Nitro gloves. These gloves aren't the best, but they had because of the Corona thing. They don't last long with the chemicals, so they get to do this. So yeah, throwing these out to get new ones. These are 5 mil Nitro. You need at least a 6 or 7 mil, something that's a little bit more like not so much a heavy duty, could be medium, but just a better all-around glove. Go ahead and clean this off here. This piece doesn't look too bad. Looks pretty clean actually. You want to be careful sticking these inside those little bitty holes here. You don't want to hollow those holes out. They're made for a specific amount of air to go through. I'm going to run this in here. Alright, this here. Okay, so I had to go look it up because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little discouraged with my camera, my GoPro. I bought a new GoPro, the Hero Black, and I was kind of frustrated with the zooming in thing. I was kind of bothering me because I wanted to make a good video for you guys. But I looked it up. I do have to buy a separate lens. I gotta buy the macro lens, so I'm gonna go ahead and order that today. Gonna get that going so next time videos be good. For this time, just bear with me please. We'll get through this together. Next time I'll break it down again. I'll show you another image, just with better views. Okay, so now we're cleaning this part here, last part. Then we're gonna put this joker back together. You got to kind of be careful. I went ahead and I have an extra needle that of course I bent so I won't get it confused. It's a needle that I messed up. You want to make sure you run your hands down it. You can kind of run it here, make sure it doesn't snag. I'm going to use this to clean my tip. You want to be careful though. Again, you don't want to damage this tip. Now what we're going to do is get this and stick it in there, but barely. You want to just kind of like, you know, go around in circles and try to get that old junk out. We're going to get this brush. We're actually going to get some bristles down in there. See how that junk come out of there still? Okay, so I don't advise this. You gotta be very careful if you do this. But I use, this is the actual needle that goes in it now. Okay, I'm gonna put this in there and I'm gonna follow through because there's a little piece of junk stuck in that little bitty tip right there. And I want to try to get it out. If it's too hard, then I'm gonna back out of there. Don't know if you can see it or not, but there it is. It's coming out. That junk's coming out. See that? Your nozzle is clean. Let's put this thing back together. Okay, yeah, we're gonna give it one more wash. I forgot. One more little wash. I'm not gonna put this in here because I don't want it to damage. Let's put it back together. Okay, so here are all your pieces. Looks like a lot, but once you start putting it back together, you do this a couple times, it's no big deal. So we're gonna go ahead and assemble this joker back together. First thing you want to do is, I advise, go ahead and getting this nozzle in there right now. So easy way to do it is you're gonna drop this nozzle inside this guy right here. It's in there, lines itself up, it's coming out this end here. There's a little tip I was talking about. You're gonna get that and you're gonna put this in here. That nozzle is gonna go inside there and the cap's gonna go screwed on. Be careful, don't drop it at this point because you will damage that nozzle. Next, we're gonna go ahead and put this protector on. This is the one that's always pretty clean I was telling you about. Alright, this is gonna go here. And that just screws on there. Now, the nozzle, you can't see it because of the camera again, I'm sorry. There's a tip of that nozzle barely sticking out of there still. So if you drop this flat down, you can still smash it. It's better to put this on and protect it. This screws on here. So you got 1, 2, 3. There it is. So you drop it, nothing's gonna happen. You're good, even if the needle's in there. Alright, this is gonna go here. There's your lid. It's good, got the breathing hole. It's good. It's gonna hold your paint. Alright, this side here. Okay, so before we put our trigger in, right in that little slot I was telling you about earlier, where that right there little hole right there, where this goes into, we're gonna drop a little bit of oil in there, just 1 or 2 drops, because remember, oil and in the paint world doesn't mix. But we're gonna worry about paint going back up in here because of, you know, the O-ring that's packed in here. But if your O-ring is loose and paint goes back here, your oil might go back that way. You're gonna get oil in your paint job, and yeah, you're out of there. So we're not gonna add a lot, just a drop, just so there's no friction in there and our trigger doesn't get stuck. Okay, so the first drop went out here, so we're good. Because the needle's got to slide through there. That's what the needle's got to go through. Got to let that little slot, little tip fall in a little slot. And there it is. Alright. Now, I'll let that fall out. This is going to go on here. This is going to go in here. You're going to turn this around. This piece looks like this here. This is what the trigger is going to be bouncing up against. So this piece needs to go up. So you're going to bend it forward. Go forward with it. Whoops. Slide it in just like that. And you see it there behind the trigger? And you screw it in. The tighter now you can go in, you can stop at a certain depth when this screws in, the back screws in here, but the tighter you make it, the stiffer your trigger will be. I don't like a soft trigger. I like it tightened all the way down. So it's kind of stiff. That's just how I use it. However you get it and you want to use it, that's on you, but that's how I do it. You can back it out a little bit as long as it don't hit here when you screw this in here. It just kind of eases up on it. Now, you're going to slide this needle in here. I just put my fingers here as a guide. Put the needle on your finger and slide it in. Take your time. Now remember, it's going to pass through that little slot that was in the trigger that you've seen. It's going to slide through. And let's take this little thing off here so you can see the needle here. And there it is. Okay, so now once you push it through, and you just barely push it a little bit more just so it'll get stuck, then you slide this on here. This is the locking nut. And you tighten it down. And now when you pull the trigger, since this is tightened on that, the trigger's pushing against that, it pushes your needle back, which allows airflow to come out there. Now, I'm not going to be painting right now at the second, so I'm going to go ahead and cover this up to protect it. Now nothing's going to hurt it. Put your back on here, screw that in, and go ahead and wipe it off one time. And you're good to go. Airbrush is clean. Now let's get to work.
Got a plan for you, God got a plan for you. He got a plan for you, God got a plan for you. He got a plan for you. They said I wouldn't.